You're listening to the Breakaway Wealth Podcast, the show that helps you build wealth faster, think outside the box, and break out of the herd. Here's your host, Jim Oliver.
Welcome back, Breakaway Wealth. I'm your host, Jim Oliver, and with me today, my co-host, Nick Costco. Welcome, Nick.
It's always a pleasure to be back here, riffing about money and kind of digging into the unseens of money. As people know.
So, a couple of weeks ago, we had Jimmy Song on a couple of episodes ago. And Jimmy is an amazing guy. And he wrote a book about fiat money. He's written a book about Bitcoin. And really, when we think about fiat money, Nick, I always get to this point where I think people really know what they're doing when they pay cash or they use dollars and they focus on dollars and not assets, right? We can focus on dollars, but let's focus on cash flow, not on those dollars so much. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and there's a lot of noise. So just to acknowledge this, the financial entertainers of the world, Dave and Susie, they want to browbeat you that cash does not have a cost. All right. Cash is king, right? Like, hey, don't have debt. And what we're going to dig in today is, hey, that's a half truth. Okay. I love how Robert Kiyosaki says in his book, I think it was Second Chance. He said, coins have three sides. There's not two sides to every coin, right?
Yeah.
Nelson laid it out a little bit. He referenced the Matthew passage of the narrow gate, and I kind of equate that to the narrow side of the coin. What we're talking about so often in our messaging is the narrow side of the coin, standing that nickel up on its end.
Yeah. Yeah. And, so it's funny. I got my teeth cleaned yesterday and I'm talking to this lady that works there and we were talking about health, right? And she was talking about what she does to stay healthy, but more importantly, like when she gets sick, what she does. And in a book about kind of natural healing. And, I know Meredith Costco, your beautiful wife, she's right in the middle of all of that too. We have clients. Angela's amazing with that too. And it's like, it's all this stuff is being told to you, but here's the truth. And you go, no, well, I don't want to take that supplement for my high blood pressure. I'd rather take this pill, or I don't want to take this supplement for that because it might not work. And all these alternative, here's the reality is the traditional stuff doesn't work. And there are side effects that you're not going to know about for years and years and years. And so it's the same way with money.
Yep.
Right? You can believe that the traditional stuff is right. You can put your money in a 401k. You can save money. You can pay cash. You can do that. And it's going to seem like in the beginning, hey, what's wrong with that? Hey, I'm just taking a little shot every week and I'm losing weight. I mean, my blood work looks better than it's ever looked. Yeah, I've heard this from friends, by the way. And
And you got no muscle.
Yeah. Go do a DEXA scan. And a DEXA scan, for the audience doesn't know, because I didn't know, but it does everything. It tells you how much your organs weigh. It tells you how much bone density. It tells you every piece of lean muscle. It tells you how much muscle is on your right leg, your left leg, your right arm, your left arm. It's detailed, right? And I promise you, if you took a DEXA scan, went on that shot for 6 months, and then did another DEXA scan, even if you work out, you're not going to have as much muscle. So it's the same way with money. If you start spending cash, you're not going to have as much cash in the future as you would if you didn't try to take that cheat shot, right?
Yep.
Okay, so what's the real key to creating wealth, Nick?
Cash flow. Take
cash
control.
flow, right? Okay,
take control.
So let's go all the way back. Some of the things that I love, people, when we use an example of a bank, we use Bank of America 2016. And I love when sometimes these people criticize it. Well, why don't you use 2024 numbers? Because I want to see history. One of the things at 59 years old is that I've been there, done that before. We've been through these cycles. I know what's going to work when the you know what hits the fan. So this is an article by Sean Tolley, 1993. So 1993, I went to public school, Nick. So help me. 2003, 13. So 31 years ago, something like that. Is that right?
Yeah, we're getting there. Yep.
All right, we're getting close. You know that I'm not the detail guy. So in 1993, he wrote this article for Fortune magazine, 1993, 31 years ago. The real key to creating wealth. How to get knockout results with a company using a tool called economic value added, EVA. All right. So this is kind of how this started, Nick. Is this company, this consulting firm out of New York City? It always reminds me of the Pace salsa. New York City. That's made in New York City.
Yeah.
But anyway, from New York City, they come down to Atlanta to help Coca-Cola with their, to help them with their profitability. Kind of look what they're doing, right? And so they analyzed Coca-Cola from top to bottom financially. And they said, and the company's name was Stern Stewart and Company out of New York City. And so they come down and they say, hey, when you use the bank's money, you pay interest to the bank, right? And they said, you got to remember, these are like these C-suite executives, executive VPs. And they're like, well, of course. Well, why? Why do you pay them interest? Well, they demand it.
Yeah.
Okay. But when you use the company's money, you don't pay interest to the company.
When you say company's money, you're meaning, hey, we're spending cash.
We're spending cash, right? So when we spend cash that's in the company, we don't pay the company interest back. And they said, well, no. And they said, well, let me ask you a question. Who owns the company? And they said, well, the shareholders do. Okay. And then they just asked one simple question. Why is the shareholders' money worth less than the bank's money? Well, what do you mean? Well, and you pay the bank interest, but you don't pay the shareholders' interest, right? So what they were basically saying is that what they were basically saying is they don't show that their cash has a value or an expense like the bank does. The bank says, hey, our money has a value. It has an expense. Because they have to pay the depositors a little bit of interest, right?
Right.
And so it has a value, because the value is somebody else will pay us interest. So if you don't want to, no big deal. We'll get somebody else to.
Right.
Okay, but that's not how they were treating their own money, meaning the company's money, because that's their job to manage the company, right? Now, think about this. I'm going to bring all of this back to the family. Okay, so they started paying themselves, the company, interest when they used the company's money, cash, the shareholders' cash. What do you think what happened to the stock price?
It went up.
So it went from the under $5 a share to over $40 a share using EVA. Now, this is way back this is 1993. So don't say Coca-Cola's trading it. Okay. This is just when they started using this concept.
That's a heck of an increase.
Here to here, right? So it's very simple. From here to here.
Yeah.
Okay. CSX Railroad, same thing. It went from around $20 to almost $80 when they adopted EVA. Briggs and Stratton. Okay, back then, 30 years ago, these were major companies.
Right.
Okay. So their stock price went from here to here, right? Up. Okay, so we all, somebody in the audience might be sitting there saying, hey, Nick, Jim, I don't run a company. That's really cool. And if I did, man, I'd use this EVA thing. But we always say that you should run your family, you should run your personal finances like a business, right?
Right.
With your personal family, what is your stock price?
Your net worth?
Your net worth, right? And I always, man, I'll tell you what, I struggle with this term net worth because when I was a kid and I was poor and I had no net worth, that means I'm worthless, right?
Right.
And I don't like that. I didn't like that then, right? And now I kind of have like this opposite thing. I sometimes think people go, well, your value is whatever your net worth is. And you should, I can't do that because you had, whatever.
Right.
And I go, wait a minute. We can all, wherever we are. Remember, some of them were, Coca-Cola was less than $5. CSX Railroad was $20. Doesn't matter where your net worth is now. If you start doing EVA, using EVA, start practicing that in your life, what's going to happen to your net worth?
It's going to go up.
It's going to go up. There wasn't one example of any company using EVA where it went down. Okay. By the way, wait a minute. That's not what Dave says. Cash doesn't have a value. Susie says the same thing.
Right.
I just have to pay cash. Well, history, economics, EVA, proven principle suggests otherwise. So how do we use EVA in our personal lives?
Yeah, we take control of the banking function, in a big picture, right?
Yeah.
I had a great question yesterday from a prospective client that got on the phone as a referral from a great friend of ours. And one of her very first questions was, how long has this been around?
Yeah.
And I said, well, just a couple hundred years, on the conservative side. And then she asked another question. I can't remember what it was, but it prompted me to say, hey, just FYI, every Fortune 500 company does this.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, okay, well, I'm all ears, and it was just cool. Like, this is not a fly by night thing. Right. And it's not that complex. Honestly, Nelson lays it out in his brilliant book, Becoming Your Own Banker, in just 92 pages. You might have to read it 3 or 4 times to catch all the nuance, but it's brilliantly simple.
So I agree. Your cash, here's one principle that you have to accept. One, you have to understand how a bank works. We've gone over that before. We have a great video on our community.createtailwind.com. We will teach you this for free. You can watch it over and over again as many times as you want for free. Okay. And it's going to increase your net worth. And you got to know how a bank works.
Yep.
You got to accept that I'm smart enough to be my own banker with a little coaching, right? And you can choose Create Tailwind, right?
That's right.
And we'll coach you. And we'll give you tools to do this yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so then you control the banking function. Now start treating your cash as though it has a value. Start paying yourself interest back. Now, we're not talking about cash flowing assets yet. We're not talking about infinite banking, 201, 301, 401, 501. We're talking about 101. The simplest form.
That's right.
And you can start using the same principles as EVA, economic value added, to increase your net worth. And it's as simple as, don't do what the head side of the coin is telling you. Don't do what the tail side of the coin is telling you to do. Do the edge of the coin, like you pointed out with Robert Kiyosaki in Second Chance.
Yeah.
By the way, a great book, Nick. And the people that I've said, oh, Second Chance. Well, I'm a young guy. I don't really need to read that book because I don't need a second chance. I need my first chance. I love Robert Kiyosaki, but there's little certain mistakes that he made that book shouldn't be called Second Chance, because it turns some people off that are younger. Like, I don't need to read that. Yeah. I didn't need my first chance.
Yeah, he's just sharing the mistakes so that you don't make those mistakes the first time.
Well, I mean, I think the title should be around that. Maybe we should call him and redo that book. Just kidding.
I'm sure he'll jump right on our call too.
Yeah.
He's waiting for it. Hey, so everyone, Jim gave you the link to our community. You can go to your cell phones, the Apple Store, Android Store. Just type in Create Tailwind, all one word. Once you get in there, watch what is IBC. There's a great video about how the bank works. There's a great video in there about a penny doubling, highlighting the cost of paying cash. There's a video in there called "It's Just Math," where we debunk some of Dave's math. And this conversation I had yesterday, Jim, this is not my opinion or your opinion. These are just facts. Coca-Cola, Briggs and Stratton, you can name a lot more than that have adopted EVA. We can look at the penny doubling math. We can look at the math of a mortgage and the implications of those types of things, right? The implication of writing a $100,000 check for a car versus financing it yourself through your own banking system. How do we finance real estate endeavors? How does that look if I just pay $100,000 of cash for that piece of real estate versus financing it myself? It's just math. And I think what we are really encouraging people to do is just be educated. If you want to go and follow Dave, great. Good for you.
Yeah.
But understand there's more information and have that information and know that you're making a decision with all the information.
Yeah. I mean, what could it hurt?
That's right.
What could it hurt to educate yourself about, again, let's go back to health, right? If you understood why you wanted to eat a certain way, how it affected your body, what was going to happen.
Right.
Not an Instagram reel showing some guy that's got incredible abs and standing there and going, hey, you too can look like this. Not that, but the science.
Sure.
This is how your body breaks down protein. This is how it breaks down carbohydrates. This is how it stores energy. This is what it does. And really explain it. And you go, nah, I'm still going to go to McDonald's tonight for dinner. I mean, but at least you know, right? At least you know what's happening.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing that would you'd say, gosh, I really wish I didn't take that 20 minutes or 2 hours or whatever it takes to learn it.
Right.
So I think about this, Nick. If you read Nelson's book, he always used to say you could read it in less than 2 hours, right?
Yep.
Dan Sullivan writes an incredible amount of books, incredible material, and he makes every book you could read in an hour because he wants it to be where you could read it on a flight from Chicago to Toronto, right? Which is an hour. And so you read that book for 2 hours or less is what Nelson would say. And I would always think, because I'm a slow reader, I would go, yeah, it took me about 2 hours. So if I can do it in 2 hours, anybody can do it in less than 2 hours, right?
Yep.
Then you watch our course, Becoming Your Own Banker, right?
Yep.
2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yep.
So maximum, you got 4 hours and 45 minutes invested. And I will promise you, if you spend that 4 hours and 45 minutes and you can't explain infinite banking, I will donate some money to your favorite charity, because for whatever your time is worth, because I'm telling you, after those 4 hours and 45 minutes, you're going to know whether you're interested in doing this or not.
Yep.
And then you take the missing pieces. Okay, how do I see that kind of really going together? Yeah, right. And once you take that, didn't we change the name of that course, Nick?
Not yet, but it's coming.
Okay, it's coming. All right. So you take it now, it's called The Missing Pieces. At the end of that, you'll know whether, so you got a few hours invested to know whether infinite banking is right for you or not right for you. Or, okay, so that's one option. The other option is you get online, you watch these marketers, these guys that have done this for a few years. They don't know the articles from 1993. They don't know the economic cycles and how infinite banking works through an up market, down market, all of those things, right?
Yeah.
They don't know how a bank works during those times because they haven't lived through that. They haven't been doing this through that. Okay. You could do that, but they're good marketers, man. They'll make it sound like really cool.
That's right.
Or you could take those hours and you could really dig deep and learn with your book in your hand, step by step by step.
Yep. If you're one to have a lot of windshield time, you can download Nelson's book on Audible. You can play our videos on your mobile device while you're driving down the road. If there's a will, there's a way. But Jim, you ready to take us home?
Yeah. What I would just encourage everybody to do is think about that. Have the courage to stand on the edge of the coin and just educate yourself on the other side of the coin and the edge and figure out where it is, right?
Yep.
Here's right or here's left. Here's right. It's for my right. I think I'm doing it backwards on there. But
it's all right.
And so where do you fall? Where does your belief fall? And just take a stand, find a coach, find a mentor, somebody who's going to help you along that path to figure out wherever you are. Not do it for you, but figure it out where to help you figure out where you're at.
All right, man.
All right. So we're going to end this audience like we end every episode with the incredible words of Earl Nightingale in The Strangest Secret, because whatever you think, you will become.
Here's the key to success and the key to failure. We become what we think about. Now let me say that again. We become what we think about.
Thanks for listening to the Breakaway Wealth Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to this show wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. If you want to start increasing your wealth building ability right now, go to community.createtailwind.com to join our free online community and get access to free, in-depth training designed to help you build real, lasting wealth. See you next week.